Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo is often hailed as a masterpiece, a dizzying exploration of obsession, identity, and the fragile nature of the human psyche. For decades, critics and audiences alike have dissected its spiraling narrative, focusing on James Stewart's tormented detective, Scottie Ferguson, and his desperate love for a woman who never truly existed. We accept it as a pinnacle of suspense, a perfectly crafted psychological thriller. But what if the story we've been told is merely a facade? What if the true Vertigo isn't what happens on screen, but the chasm between what the film appears to be and the dark, forbidden truth Hitchcock embedded within its very celluloid? This is not a film about a fictional character's obsession, it is the cinematic confession of its creator, a meticulously constructed mirror reflecting the director's own soul, and a trap designed not for his characters, but for us, the audience. If you're ready to look over the edge and into the abyss of one of cinema's greatest minds, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that like button, because what you're about to hear will permanently alter the way you see this film. To understand the forbidden theory, we must first discard the notion of Hitchcock as a mere storyteller. He was an architect of anxiety, a conductor of fear who played the audience like a violin. And with Vertigo, he embarked on his most audacious and personal project. The central character, Scottie, is not a simple protagonist, he is a surrogate, a carefully chosen vessel for Hitchcock's own deepest, most troubling impulses. Consider Scottie's defining traits: a desire for absolute control, a crippling fear of losing that control, and an obsessive need to mold a woman into a specific, idealized image. These are not just the quirks of a fictional detective, they are the well-documented hallmarks of Alfred Hitchcock's own relationships with his leading ladies, the famous Hitchcock blondes. He was known for his Svengali-like control over their appearance, their performances, and even their personal lives. He would dictate the color of their hair, the style of their clothes, and the very essence of their on-screen persona, creating and recreating his perfect, cool, blonde ideal, film after film. In Vertigo, this process is no longer subtext, it is the entire text. The film's second half, in which Scottie finds the common shopgirl Judy Barton and systematically strips her of her own identity to transform her back into his ghostly obsession, Madeline, is one of the most unsettling sequences in film history. We watch, horrified yet mesmerized, as he forces her to dye her hair, buy the same gray suit, and style herself into the ghost of a woman he loved, who was herself a fabrication. On the surface, this is a tragic story of a man unable to let go. But seen through the forbidden lens, it becomes Hitchcock's unabashed confession. He is showing us exactly what he does. He is Scottie. Judy is not just one character, she represents every actress he ever sought to control and reshape in his own image: Grace Kelly, Tippi Hedren, Eva Marie Saint. The agonizing process of Judy's transformation is a cinematic reenactment of Hitchcock's own creative and psychological dominance. The discomfort we feel is not just for the character, it's the dawning realization that the director is making us complicit in his own obsessive ritual. The vertigo of the title, then, takes on a terrifying new meaning. It is not simply Scottie's acrophobia. It is Hitchcock's own moral and creative vertigo. The fear of falling from a great height becomes a metaphor for the director's own anxieties. The fear of falling from his pedestal of genius, the fear of his manipulative nature being exposed, the dizzying loss of control when his creations, the women he tried to perfect, inevitably asserted their own identities. The famous dolly zoom effect, which visually simulates the sensation of vertigo, is not just a clever camera trick to put us in Scottie's shoes. It is Hitchcock pulling back the curtain, making the audience experience the profound psychological disorientation that comes from having your perception of reality fundamentally warped. He is making us feel his own fear, his own loss of solid ground. The entire film is built upon a lie within a lie. Madeline is an impersonation of a dead woman, orchestrated by a villain to cover up a murder. But the deeper lie is the one Hitchcock is telling himself, and us, that this is just a story. Think about the structure. For the first half of the film, we are completely aligned with Scottie. We fall in love with Madeline alongside him. We are mystified by her ethereal beauty and her tragic story. We experience his profound grief when she seemingly dies. Hitchcock makes us invest, makes us feel Scottie's loss as our own. Then, in a move that broke all cinematic conventions of the time, he reveals the twist halfway through. He shows us that Judy is Madeline. Why? Why sacrifice the surprise ending? Because the film is not about the surprise. It is about the obsession itself. By revealing the secret to the audience but not to Scottie, Hitchcock shifts our position. We are no longer Scottie's allies, we become his observers, watching his descent into a madness that we know is based on a cruel deception. We are now in a position of superior knowledge, forced to watch a man's soul corrode as he tries to resurrect the phantom. This is Hitchcock's masterstroke. He implicates us. We are no longer passive viewers, we are witnesses, aware of the full scope of the tragedy and the cruelty, yet powerless to stop it. We are forced to watch the psychological torment unfold, making us question our own voyeurism. The real horror of Vertigo is not the fall from the bell tower, it is the slow, deliberate, and fully conscious destruction of a human being for the sake of a fantasy, and Hitchcock makes damn sure we have a front row seat. This forces us to confront an even more disturbing question: if we are the witnesses, what exactly is the crime scene? It is not just the bell tower, but the entire city of San Francisco itself. Hitchcock does not choose his locations by accident, he weaponizes them. The city, with its impossible hills and plunging streets, becomes a physical manifestation of Scottie's vertigo and Hitchcock's own fractured psyche. It is a labyrinth with no exit. The endless, rolling fog that obscures the Golden Gate Bridge is not mere weather, it is the suffocating ambiguity of the director's own morality, blurring the line between reality and illusion. The characters drive in circles, revisiting the same locations, trapped in a geographic loop that mirrors Scottie's obsessive-compulsive cycle. The Mission Dolores, the Palace of the Legion of Honor, Fort Point under the bridge, these are not just backdrops, they are stations of the cross in a twisted pilgrimage towards self-destruction. Hitchcock transforms a vibrant city into a psychological prison, and he locks both his characters and the audience inside it with him. The true Vertigo is the realization that there is no escape from the maze of the creator's mind. And within this prison, Hitchcock presents us with a key, a path to freedom that his surrogate, Scottie, willfully ignores. That key is Midge Wood. Midge is the film's conscience, its anchor to reality. She is intelligent, caring, practical, and everything the ethereal Madeline is not. She represents a life of normalcy, of health, of genuine affection. And Scottie, as Hitchcock's vessel, treats her with cruel disdain. His rejection of Midge is not just the act of a man blinded by love, it is Hitchcock's deliberate statement on his own artistic pathology. He is acknowledging the existence of a healthier path, a world free from the torment of obsessive creation, and he is consciously, almost gleefully, turning his back on it. Midge's most tragic moment comes when she attempts to enter Scottie's fantasy world on her own terms, painting a portrait of herself as the ghostly Carlotta Valdez. It is a desperate, heartbreaking plea to be seen, to be understood in the only language her friend now speaks. Scottie's reaction is one of pure, violent rage. He is not just angry, he is terrified. Her act threatens to shatter the fragile perfection of his illusion by introducing the messy, imperfect truth of reality. In that moment, Midge is not just a spurned lover, she represents every real woman who could never live up to Hitchcock's impossible, fabricated ideal. What do you think Midge truly represents in this dark, psychological landscape? Is she the voice of reason Hitchcock chose to silence, or something even more profound? Let us know your theories in the comments below. This rejection of reality allows the fantasy to fester, and it spreads through the film like a sickness, most potently through the color green. The green of Judy's dress, the eerie green glow that bathes her in the hotel room, the green of her Jaguar. In the language of cinema, green is often the color of the supernatural, of ghosts and envy. For Hitchcock, it is the official color of his obsession. It is an unnatural hue, a visual signifier that what we are seeing is not real, that it is a tainted, spectral love story. The spiral motif, seen in Carlotta's hair and echoed in the dizzying staircase of the bell tower, becomes the film's operating system. It is the shape of obsession, a vortex pulling Scottie deeper into madness, with no center and no end. He is not moving forward, he is simply spiraling inward toward his own collapse. Every visual element is a piece of this coded confession. The flowers that Madeline obsessively buys are a symbol of a love that is beautiful, but already dead and cut from its roots. The sequoia tree, with its rings marking the passage of centuries, serves to highlight the insignificance and transience of human life against the backdrop of an eternal, repeating past, a past Scottie is desperately trying to resurrect. This is not just filmmaking, it is the meticulous construction of a psychological prison, built brick by brick with symbols of death, illusion, and inescapable cycles. The entire film is a portrait, just like the one of Carlotta Valdez, but this one is a self-portrait of the director's soul, painted in shades of gray fog and ghostly green. And so, this self-portrait is ultimately a tragedy, not of a man who loved a woman, but of an artist who loved an idea more than any human being. The film's devastating conclusion is Hitchcock's final, brutal brushstroke. When Scottie drags Judy back to the bell tower, the scene of the original sin, it is not a search for truth. It is a desperate, violent pilgrimage to force reality to bend to his will one last time. He is not trying to understand Judy, he is trying to exorcise her, to erase the flawed, real woman and leave only the perfect ghost of Madeline. The ascent up those spiraling stairs is a journey into the heart of his own madness, pulling his creation along with him. He needs her to confess not to the crime, but to her own imperfection, to her failure to be the phantom he requires. The moment of climax is not when she admits her role in the deception. It is when the shadowy figure of the nun appears. In the logic of Hitchcock's confession, the nun is not just a random character. She is the embodiment of an objective, unimpeachable reality. She is conscience. She is consequence. She is the outside world that the hermetically sealed fantasy cannot keep out forever. Her sudden appearance is the pin that bursts the bubble of Scottie's delusion. And in that moment of shock, Judy, the real, terrified human being, recoils from this specter of judgment and falls. The tragedy is absolute. The creation, having been forcibly resurrected, is now permanently destroyed. The artist's attempt to achieve immortality through his work has resulted only in death. Hitchcock shows us the ultimate price of his obsession: you cannot remake a person into an idea without destroying them. And in destroying them, you destroy yourself. This brings us to the final, haunting image of the film. Scottie, standing on the ledge, looking down. The vertigo is gone. He has faced the height and is no longer afraid. But what a hollow victory it is. In the language of our forbidden theory, Hitchcock is telling us that in completing this film, in this act of raw, painful confession, he has conquered his creative demon. He has successfully navigated the dizzying heights of his own psyche and translated his darkest impulses onto the screen. He has achieved his masterpiece. But he is left utterly alone, staring into the abyss of his own making, having sacrificed the human for the sake of the art. He is cured, but he is damned. There is no Midge to save him. There is no Judy to forgive him. There is only the cold, empty air and the ghost of a perfect love that never was. This is why this theory is so forbidden. It recasts one of cinema's greatest achievements from a thrilling mystery into a deeply disturbing psychological document. It forces us to confront the uncomfortable possibility that the artistic genius we celebrate was inextricably linked to a profound and troubling pathology of control. Hitchcock didn't just direct his actresses, he tried to possess them, to mold them into a recurring dream from which he could not wake. Vertigo is the nightmare of what happens when that dream is threatened by reality. The film's endurance, its hypnotic power, comes not from its plot twists, but from this raw, exposed nerve. We feel the authenticity of the obsession because it was real. It was Hitchcock's own. He laid his soul bare, crafting a puzzle box for the audience where the solution is not a killer's identity, but the director's own tormented heart. He traps us in his gaze, making us voyeurs to his own spiritual crisis. We are complicit in Scottie's remaking of Judy because, as an audience, we too often desire the comforting illusion over the messy truth. We want to believe in the Phantom of Madeline. Hitchcock anticipates this and uses it against us, holding up a mirror to our own desires for perfect stories and perfect beauty, and then showing us the cruelty required to achieve them. The real vertigo is not the fear of falling, but the dizzying realization that the art we love can be born from the darkest corners of the human soul. It's the understanding that every perfect frame, every masterful camera movement, every note of Bernard Herrmann's haunting score, is a component of a confession. The real vertigo is knowing that every time we watch this film, we are not just watching a story, we are staring back into the eyes of its creator, trapped with him in his perfect, beautiful, and eternal nightmare. If these are the kinds of stories that captivate you, the hidden truths behind the art you love, then make sure you subscribe to the channel for more and leave a like to show your support.